Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Eileen Eustace, and I'm the principal at Berlin High School. Thank you for your patience. We were actually taking a look at a little tech piece here. It wasn't showing up right away on the home page. It was showing up on the video page, but it should be showing up in both areas right now for the live stream. So if you're texting with any of your friends out there, let them know. They should be able to go on the BHS TV homepage or under the videos, and the live stream will be there. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We do have quite a bit of information to go through. I would like to start by introducing a couple of my colleagues. This afternoon, we also have with us Mr. Dave Francolangia, the Director of Athletics, Health, and Physical Education. And we also have one of our assistant principals, Mrs. Katie Amenta, with us today to help with questions. So what I'm going to do, just give me a second, I'm going to pull a PowerPoint up that has some information on it that we're going to talk through. I am going to jump like all the way to the end of the PowerPoint just to let you know and start with athletics. And Mr. Francolangia can kind of explain what's going on with that at the moment as to why he needs to go first. Okay, so just give me 1 second to switch the screen over and then jump down to the bottom part of the PowerPoint. Okay, great. So we should have the athletics page here. So Mr. Francolangia, I'm going to go ahead and let you go first and explain all that's going on.
Thank you so much. I was just informed not too long ago that at Scalise Field, the turf field at Sage Park, one of the towers, unfortunately, some of the bolts have snapped in a previous windstorm. They just realized it's gotten a lot worse. And we've been on the phone with Park and Recs in the town and going to be continuing to be on the phone trying to figure out a resolution quickly. So that field will be closed, obviously, because of safety concerns. And we're going to try our best to get that field back and running as soon as possible. So thank you very much for allowing me to go. It's been just kind of a madhouse. So if you do have any follow-up questions that either Ms. Ment or Ms. Eustace can't answer, please email me. I'll be on my computer later on this evening, checking emails and perhaps answering some emails if you guys have any questions. But as of now, we have tremendous amount of work over the past 6 weeks, 2 months from the athletic directors across the state. From our coaching staff, it's been pretty remarkable in terms of the conversations that we've had regarding the startup of sports for the fall season. We've been in meetings 2-3 times a week. It seems like hours upon hours going through information, safety guidelines, student assessments, self-assessments of student athletes and so forth, trying to get back to be able to play sports. At the point right now, we are a go. A school messenger email will be sent out most likely tomorrow afternoon. And there I will have the dates and times of the first official practice for the fall season. We do have a meeting tomorrow with the CIAC and athletic directors across the state, one last meeting before August 29th, the official start date for fall sports. There are some sports that are conditioning prior and doing some things this week, but the 29th of August and on the 31st of August are going to be the dates where teams are going to have their first official fall practice. So we're really excited about it. There's been a lot of work done by CIC officials working with, the State Department of Education, obviously our Board of Education, the CCC, the Central Connecticut Conference, and also the Department of Health at the state level. So it's been a unique experience that everybody's going through. It's been a fluid experience and things can change on the dime, it seems like. And it almost seems like a tennis match going back and forth. But I think we're at a very strong point that, it's safe to say that we are going to have high school athletics in the fall. It's definitely going to look a little different from previous years. But moving forward, we just want to make sure that we're going to be able to have fall sports and make sure that it's safe and conducive to all the guidelines set forth by the various departments across the state. The coaching staff will be talking to you on a variety of bases. We're going to cancel parents' night because of the large venue, but I will have the opportunity to speak with various teams throughout the next couple of weeks once things get settled with regards to their practices set forth, and we'll be able to talk about games and schedules and talk about expectations of the student athletes, especially with COVID. So I'll be around working with your coaches to set up a meeting. Most likely it'll be after practice or before practice to have that parents' night. And it'd actually be kind of cool to meet on a more personal level versus an entire auditorium. So I'm looking forward to that, to meeting with all of you. The schedules are not out as of yet. If you've seen anything, just delete that for now, because the first official day of games will be on October 1st. So again, a lot of this information is going to be coming in the next week or so, with the following meetings that we're going to have with the CIC and CCC. But I am looking forward to a successful fall season. It's going to be cut short a little bit in terms of how many games they're going to be playing, and it might look a little bit different, but I'm just happy that the kids are going to be out there in a timely manner, so to speak, and that they're going to have some sort of competition moving forward. So again, if you do have any questions or concerns whatsoever, please reach out to me. My email is dfrankelangia@berlinschools.org. It's on the athletic webpage, and I'll get back to you within a day.
Okay. Thanks so much, Mr. Frankelangia. We'll let you go and get working on that field. So I'm going to jump to the very beginning of the PowerPoint here. So just pardon me for one sec as I get to the beginning. So one of the things that I want to let you know is that if you do have questions during the presentation, if you have the Google form handy that was sent in previous emails, you can submit questions through that form still. I have someone monitoring that for questions. Or you can email Mrs. Amenta at kamenta@berlinschools.org. Again, kamenta@berlinschools.org. She's monitoring her email as well. And when we get to the question part of this, we'll go through any other lingering questions that are out there that haven't been answered through the presentation. So just to get started, our objective is to provide a safe and productive teaching and learning environment for all students and staff at Berlin High School. One of my continuing taglines is going to be that it's everybody's responsibility to help keep our schools open. So it really is going to be a community and team effort, students, staff, as well as families. And I'm very confident in working together with everybody that we will be able to do this and keep schools open for as long as we can. Again, just based on our discussions in July, these are some of the major considerations in terms of opening schools that have to do with face covering, social distancing, cohorting, and transportation. So much of that was discussed previously, but for today, we're going to get into a little bit more detail, and we also went through the questions that were previously submitted to the presentation, so we'll answer those questions throughout. So a lot of questions about face covering. So first of all, I just want to let you know that face masks will be required at all times unless otherwise directed. We are also going to be directing students that they do need to wear their face coverings outside, particularly upon arrival and dismissal, as we know students will be crowded around each other. Now, obviously, if they're in a small group and they're way off somewhere where they have wide distance from other students, those times would be acceptable. But again, we know that there are times where it will be a little bit more crowded and students will be expected to wear face coverings outside as well, particularly before and after school as they're arriving and dismissing from school. We will provide opportunities for mask breaks as feasible. We have a few options in terms of doing that. Depending on the classroom setup, there may be a small area in the room that can be designated as a mask break area, which is pretty similar to what's happening across the district K-12. We also can have students perhaps stand outside the hallway for a minute or two to have a mask break. Students will be able to take their masks off, obviously, during lunchtime when they're eating. And again, we will continue to work with students that might be struggling with wearing a mask. But I do want to let you know that this is one of the most important things that we feel very tied to, obviously, is the importance of wearing a mask. And we will take it very seriously. And again, no mask, no school is really what it kind of comes down to as far as, what Mr. Benigni's message is. And we just want to reiterate that as well. But I do also want to let you know that we are working to be supportive. Even as adults, have been finding it I'm sure all of us have been finding it to be challenging to wear a mask for hours and hours on end. So we are looking for ways to work with everybody to provide appropriate breaks that still are, maintain the safety for everybody. The masks that are going to be provided to students, they are double layer. They're actually triple layer. There's actually like a third layer inside as well of a thinner material, but it's a double layer with an extra piece of material inside as well. That 2 masks will be provided to every student during the first in-person advisory. So because we're starting in the cohort method, obviously half the students will get them the one week and the other half of the students will get them the following week. There was a question about advisory, just to let everybody know. For those of us back in the day when we were in school, we may have looked at it as like homeroom, but it's really more of an opportunity for student connectedness. Mrs. Menta will discuss a little bit more about advisory later in the presentation. So when we refer to advisory, that's an opportunity for students to come together with an adult. They're small groups, and we do a variety of things in advisory. Students may wear their own masks, but they must be double layer, clean, cover the nose and mouth, and fit snugly. Valve systems, gaiters, single layer, scarves, or bandanas are not permitted. And then students and adults will be appropriately addressed and disciplined if not in compliance. Again, we will work with students as well as adults to make sure that everybody's in compliance. We as educators like to be problem solvers, so we want to ensure that we help, with the situation to assist everybody in being in compliance, but we also have a no tolerance that if you're just flat out refusing to wear the mask, you will not be able to attend in person. There were some questions regarding cleaning, so I just wanted to go over a few things. Every classroom and common area has cleaning supplies and hand sanitizer for use throughout the day. Students will sanitize their hands and clean their desk and work area at the beginning and end of each class. Teachers will be working with students to develop those daily routines. Restrooms will be cleaned twice daily. Cafeteria tables will be sanitized after breakfast and in between lunch waves by building staff. And all spaces will be sanitized every evening by custodial staff. So just to clarify, the cleaning supplies that are in the classroom are safe for everybody's use, students as well as staff. The custodians will be using something that's a little more heavy duty in the afternoon so that we're not exposing students to something, I don't want to say that could be potentially harmful, but may act more as like an irritant if they're cleaning themselves. So we have an amazing custodial staff. They have been working tirelessly to clean our building and keep everything clean. And they have been absolutely wonderful. And they are taking on quite a bit of extra duty for us this coming year. As far as the hybrid and the cohort plan, which was discussed within the last couple of weeks, just to review a few things, it does allow for increased social distancing inside the school. Fewer students will be in the building each week. As of today, we have it's not fewer than 10%, but it is exactly 10% of students who have opted out for full remote learning. Our student enrollment as of this afternoon is 912 students. That number is a little fluid as we do have withdrawals, but we also have new enrollees coming in as well. But I anticipate that's really right about the number that we will be at. And we have been pretty consistent with 10% of students who have opted out for full remote. That numbers remain relatively consistent for the last week and a half or so. The weekly rotation, so we'll have week A, week B, and that will be, the schedule will be posted every 2 weeks. We'll have it on the website. We'll be sure to communicate that schedule in an upcoming email as well, so that everybody knows exactly at least how the first 2 weeks are going to start. And then again, we'll post the 2-week schedule on the website as we have in the past. The hybrid model allows every student the opportunity to experience in-person learning on a regular basis, at the same time trying to maintain safe social distancing within the school building. Those that will be in remote learning, whether you're full remote or in the hybrid remote week, the learning will be what they call synchronous or real time. So students will be on from 7:25 to 2:10. So you'll follow your regular schedule. When it's passing time, obviously students will take a break. And again, they'll be remoting in to each of their classes. There may be times where the teacher, students may be working on an assignment. Students will work on that at home while students are working on that in school and so forth. Obviously, during lunchtime, students don't have to log in anywhere. So that's a break for them as well. They will follow their same course and bell schedule for in-person or remote learning. So the schedule is the same, whether you're in person or you're remote. Your schedule is your schedule. And one of the reasons that's really good about that a positive to that is that should you change your mind, there's no need to go through like a big schedule change or anything like that. So it's a very easy transition. And if we do, as an entire school, have to go full remote for some reason, we'll still be able to follow a similar schedule. The hours might be a little bit different, but you're still following your same course schedule. The process to change your learning mode, let's say that at this point you've decided to start remote, but now you change your mind and would like to go hybrid or vice versa. The process would be to contact your child's school counselor and the assigned assistant principal. So Mrs. Amenta, can you just jump in and let everybody know what the alpha split is for assistant principals?
Sure. So students who fall between the letters A and L for last name will be with Mrs. Ventura, and students with the last name that fall between M and Z will be assigned to me, Mrs. Amenta.
So we do ask for a few days in order to change that learning mode or perhaps to stay on cycle. There was a question that said, with the option for people to change their mind, how do we work to keep the cohort balanced? So that is one of the things that we have tried to take great pains with. It is primarily an alpha split, but we actually have a large number of students that fall outside the alpha range. And the reason for that is because of the individual classes that we wanted to make sure break down so that they're as, equally split, or, to maintain a certain number, stay below a certain number, whether you're in cohort A or cohort B. So again, that is a way that we'll continue to work to maintain those numbers. While you can do a clean, it's impossible to do like a clean alpha split and then expect all 450 plus classes that run over the course of 8 periods to be, have that exact same type of split based on the way the schedule is. So Mrs. Ventura did go through every individual class to try to ensure that, during week A and week B, that we've been working to keep our numbers to 15 or fewer. And most of the time, the classes are even well below that on each of the cohort days. So just to let you know, in terms of remoting in, this is our camera system that will be in every classroom. We are at about 65% capacity of having these all up and running right now. We're waiting on some equipment to arrive. Fingers crossed, we still have 13 days left, but we also have a different system that will be set up that will operate the exact same way. But you can see there's a webcam at the top here. This is a large 40-inch screen. So anybody that's remoting in from home will be able to be seen on the screen here. And then there's various controls for the teacher to be able to use. We are so appreciative of the district investing in this technology for us. We're fortunate to be a one-to-one district. We really are much further ahead other districts, and I do feel as though this is going to support all of our students in getting the best education possible as we, have to kind of be fluid between hybrid to per chance if we have to go full remote to, obviously our hope is full in person at some point in time. So in terms of remote learning, because I think a lot of people have some questions about that, we'll be using Zoom rooms. Every teacher will have a professional account, which will allow them some additional features. The links will always be posted in Schoology. So for parents that are watching, if you have a 10th grader, your student is obviously very familiar with Schoology. For our current 9th grade students, my understanding is they did use Schoology to some extent at McGee. We are going to be sending out some specific information in how to log into Schoology, find your classes, and also where to find the links so that they can sign in, especially if you are starting remote for that first week. So don't worry, additional information with some very specific instructions will be sent out next week. So please know that we are doing a lot of teacher training next week with regard to the Zoom room and the webcam setup. as well as some of the additional tools that they'll be able to use. Again, I want to emphasize it's real-time instruction and learning, but also understand that some things may not work that well remotely. So modifications and adjustments will be made accordingly. So for example, in a science lab, in talking with the science department chair, I know oftentimes they're looking at alternating some of the science labs, whether you're, so when cohort A is in, they may be participating in the lab, and then when B is in, they'll participate in the lab. And for students that are full remote, they will have students joining lab groups where they can either specifically observe the lab, or there will be some other demos and simulations provided for all students as well. So just to let you know, there will be some adjustments depending on the uniqueness of each particular class. We felt like that was a better alternative than just automatically eliminating classes to be offered. So students can still have a wide breadth of classes. Please note that the lessons will not be recorded. So it is important that students do attend the class as if they were in school. So they need to follow the school schedule. That's very important. Flexibility and patience are key, obviously, with technology. So I just want to let you know, everybody probably heard Zoom went down across the entire country Monday morning. And, there may be times where technology, there may be a few issues. So we will be sure to provide timely communication if for some reason systems, whether it's Zoom or networks or things like that, are down. I would also suggest if you're having an individual problem at home with your internet or your technology isn't working properly, what I would advise is that what we're going to tell teachers is that the student should email the teacher directly, and you can also place a call. I know there was a question connected to what if they can't attend because there's an issue with technology? Please make sure that if you can call that into the office, with the attendance secretary, and they'll make a note of that in the log entries, so that everything is, again, just so that it's all noted appropriately, and we will be working with everybody and be as flexible as possible. So again, that final note about logging in for instructions will be sent out next week for those that are starting remotely. Again, a few more expectations. The graphic on the right should look somewhat familiar. This is a graphic that we used with all of our students last spring. It's been updated just a little bit. Teachers will be going over these tips with the students with regard to, the best way to do the remote learning. Again, just a few reminders about logging in and attending class on time. We are asking that all students keep their cameras on unless otherwise directed by the teacher or a previous conversation has been had with the teacher to have a discussion about that. We encourage our remote students to actively engage in the lesson, and the same with our students that are in person. We want our students to engage with each other. So that is something that we've already had some discussion with students about, is that, even though when they're in school, we still want them to engage with students that are remote. So teachers are going to be looking at different ways where they can really have student groupings work together, so it continues to have that whole class environment feel to it. We would certainly expect everybody to follow all Board of Ed policies regarding privacy, as well as acceptable use of technology. Video recording of any kind is prohibited. And again, we will review expectations with students during the first few days of school for remote learning. Sorry, I keep toggling the wrong way here. So as far as attendance, we would expect you to follow the attendance protocols outlined in the student handbook. If you are reporting an absence, the absence line is listed in the student handbook. If a student is not well enough to physically be in school, but is able to attend remotely, that is permitted. Students will be marked as present. So for example, let's just say that a student has to quarantine, but they have no symptoms, they're feeling well, or maybe they just have a runny nose, but yet they feel they can't be in school, but they're feeling okay to attend classes remotely. That is permitted. We have set up a separate attendance code for present remote. So we'll know exactly who's in person and who's attending remotely, so that we can accurately track attendance. Please note, students do not have to attend study hall remotely. So if study hall does appear on a student's schedule, they do not have to attend study hall remotely. Attendance will be taken in all other classes, including advisory and capstone, and marked accordingly, although capstone's for 12th graders. So in case you're a 12th grade parent, just so that you know that. And all attendance criteria applies in order to earn credit for the class, whether it's in person or remote. So for ninth grade families, this is a little different than what you've experienced if you're new to high school. Not only do you have to earn the appropriate grade in the class to pass the class, but you do have to meet the attendance criteria, which is outlined in the handbook. So again, whether you're in person or you're remote, you will certainly be marked present, provided that you have attended appropriately. As far as instruction and assessment information, just a reminder that we've moved to a block schedule. So 4 classes will meet each day. They're approximately 90 minutes, and we will have a 6-day rotation. The reason for the 6-day rotation is that accommodates a few single period things such as science labs, school counseling workshops that we have scheduled for each of the individual classes, capstone for seniors and the like. So there are some department-specific protocols and adjustments that will be made as needed, as we noted before, whether it's a science or a food lab or an art class or music instruction. So teachers are working to not only to find like new tools to work with so they can appropriately engage remote learners as well as in-person learners at the same time. And again, making those adjustments so as needed based on the content. Assessments will be varied based on in-person and remote settings, and they will probably look different in order to adequately assess student progress. So teachers are looking at that a little differently. I'm sure some teachers may opt to give certain assessments when they have students in person, but then they would obviously have to have an alternate option for students that are full remote, which they're aware of, and they had certainly quite a bit of practice with last year in the spring. And things just may look a little bit different. Assessments may be shorter, they may be more project-based. And one of the things that we will focus on with students is this idea of academic integrity, just making sure that you're doing your own work, that you're working with others when it's permitted, and that you're resisting the temptation to use tools and resources, that you may not, you're probably not supposed to be using at a certain time. So we really want to focus on that with our students in terms of that whole notion of academic integrity, which has been a concern for some parents. Just to provide you with a few visuals for facility highlights, we've certainly put up a lot of signage all throughout the building. There's a couple of examples. We have a few areas that are now going to be one way. This happens to be the entrance to the English hallway, which kind of loops around and it's a little bit narrow. So that's certainly going to be one of our one-way hallways. We have floor markings in terms of for traffic flow. Our students are actually pretty good at following this traffic pattern already, but it's nice for them to have the visual reminders. And in terms of a classroom setup, so we removed extra furniture, tables, extra bookshelves, file cabinets, and the like, and we also removed additional desks. Right now, each classroom is equipped with 14 desks, which are spaced out. You can see we kind of have them staggered a little bit. And ultimately, the goal is from center of the desk to center of the desk, where really like the students' like head face would be, is 6 feet apart. So just to let you know, I was rearranging furniture this morning and doing measuring, and we're doing pretty well. In science classes, we actually are going to be able to use the lab stations as well. So there's some desk seating in the front of the science classrooms, and students can also sit at the lab stations, so they're able to spread out as well. These are a couple of our cafeteria tables. So just a reminder that during lunch, students will be eating in the cafeteria as well as the B gym. Seniors will be permitted to eat outside as well as part of a senior privilege. We have these dividers that have been purchased for all of our regular cafeteria tables. And you'll probably notice in the background that there are some single tables, and obviously only one individual will be able to sit at those tables. Obviously the dividers here are important, and we will limit the number of students that can sit at a table, and we'll have those marked appropriately as well. Every classroom, all throughout the hallways, common areas and the like, all have hand sanitizer up. There's hand sanitizer all over the building so people can sanitize their hands wherever they are. And we've also put some additional outdoor seating in place. This is up on the landing outside the auditorium in the B gym, that if a teacher wants to take their class out, they would be able to spread out, especially in hybrid mode when you probably have 10 or fewer students. We also have some additional seating in senior court that some of the teachers can take advantage of as well. This is just a list of some miscellaneous based on some of the questions that were submitted. So just to try to go through these. Safety training for the students will take place within the first in-person days during advisory and individual classes. So basically, we know we're starting with cohort A, so we'll have advisory the first 2 days on that Tuesday and Wednesday when we start, and we'll go over some building-wide safety protocols, and teachers will go over safety protocols within their classes. And then when cohort B is in the building, we will repeat those same protocols. I think it's good for students to hear it twice, whether you're remote or in person, if it's in-class things. And actually during the advisory, what we have discussed is actually providing a separate opportunity for a remote option. So we do have students that are full remote, and even though you're part of a regular advisory, much of what we're going to be going over in advisory the first 2 days deals with physically being in the building. So we'll have a remote session that's optional for remote students to come into, where we can discuss a few other remote things. So we'll send that information out next week as well. Masks, IDs, and materials distributions will take place for cohort students when they arrive for in-person school. So our teachers are aware of that. So they know that they will have half of their students in and half of their students out, and they will be planning accordingly. So I just want to assure everybody that there likely won't be a textbook assignment, because all students may not have received a textbook the first week. So chances are teachers will be posting all materials in Schoology. So I just want to reassure everybody of that. For students that are full remote, for our 10% of students that are full remote, we will set up an assigned time for you to come and pick up all of your materials. We actually need teachers to get in the building next week and to be able to know who's going to be full remote, so they can pull the materials that are needed, and we can set up a one-time pickup for all of those materials. Our hope is that we can have that pickup ready by the very end of next week. But again, if not, the very early part of next week. But I'm pretty confident we'll be able to have all of that ready. But again, we need, as you recall, we still have students that are bringing all of their materials back. So our teachers have to go through everything and then work to be able to redistribute them. But we will have a material distribution for students that are full remote. As far as the morning procedure, we are requesting that no parents drop their students off before 7:05 in the morning. We are going to be holding buses to unload until 7:05 in the morning. So that is when students will be permitted in the building. We do know that some teachers do offer extra help in the morning. That would be something that would need to be prearranged, and a student would have to have a pass in order to be able to come through the main entrance early. All students will report directly to their block 1 class. So on an odd day, you'd report to period 1. On an even day, you'd report to period 2, unless you're actually getting breakfast from the school cafeteria. If you are, you can report to the cafeteria, and then you would remain there until you are dismissed to go to the period 1 class. So in terms of the morning procedure, students that are on buses, this is a bit of a change in protocol. So students that are on buses will enter through the main entrance to Berlin High School. We will unload buses 1 to 2 at a time. They will pull forward. They will then be cleaned for their next run. So again, we'll be monitoring students exiting the buses. A parent who is dropping off their student or a student that is driving themselves would enter through the Gibney gym. Okay, so that's the plan we're going with right now. If we find that we need more entrances, we will make that adjustment. There was a question about how long will we be in hybrid, or how many in-person days. That's truly a question I really can't answer. I know right now Mr. Benigni is talking about reevaluating everything at a 6-week mark. That would certainly be in conjunction with discussions with the Central Connecticut Health District, as well as the state, in terms of, do we remain in hybrid mode? Do we go full in person? Or is there some reason why we would have to go full remote? There have been some questions about air quality. I actually had a chance to speak again with our head of town maintenance, who oversees all of that for our buildings. One of the things that I actually felt was reassuring is that we have, because of the renovation, we have the newest air system in the district. So although we're considered a closed building, the reason it's a closed building is the system is designed to work with an airflow and air exchange all throughout the building. So the air is flowing and it goes through frequent exchanges in every room, in every hallway, and as it's being exchanged, it goes through the filter. So it is continually being filtered as it's flowing through the building. And obviously they're pulling in the air from the outside as part of that exchange as well. And the filters are definitely changed regularly. I can assure you that they have been going through the systems very carefully, because they do know that that is of concern. As far as communication, my goal is to try to send one weekly communication. My goal is to be on Thursdays. It may spin into Fridays, but really trying to compile information. I feel like there's a lot of information going out, and to try to capture all of it in one email and send one weekly communication, I'm hoping will be best. That way you're not fishing through multiple emails. Now, obviously we may have to send more emails if something presents itself, or we feel as though something's timely, or we feel there's a need for a quick reminder. There was a question with regard to quarantining related to a positive test result. So to be quite frank with you, we are going to be following the guidelines that have been put out by the state. As far as if there's a positive test result, we would certainly report that. That would go, the information would come directly to an administrator. I would immediately call the superintendent, and we would be on the phone with the Connecticut Health, the Central Connecticut Health District, in terms of specific guidance. I don't want to say that the second there's a positive case that we would automatically go into quarantine. We will follow the guidelines. They will take a look at who this person has been in contact with, who potentially has been exposed, and we would follow the guidance that they provide us. And then we would communicate with obviously staff as well as families in a timely manner. So again, mask wearing, social distancing, the proper hand hygiene, and all of that. We are hoping to not have to deal with that, but I just want to let you know that we are prepared should something happen. We do have an isolation room set up. Our nurses are fully ready to deal with whatever needs to come their way as well. Just also to let you know, we have open house scheduled for Wednesday, September 16th. It is going to be some sort of a virtual format, so just stay tuned for more information about that. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Amenta to talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing with regard to social emotional wellness.
Hi, everyone. So Mrs. Eustace had mentioned the advisory program briefly at the beginning of this presentation. So I'll explain that a little bit more in detail in just a moment. So as far as the social emotional wellness, we will be working to train and support both our staff and students next week, and then the beginning of September, with some professional learning, safety protocols, transitioning, programming back into the building with re-entering, as well as emotional support and academic support. So a little background on that: over the summer, really the last 4 weeks or so, we've had a number of faculty within our school counseling, our related services, and then voluntary teachers and other staff members who have come in and put in the research, put in the time, put in the tools and resources to best support students and staff in the coming weeks. And so that transitions next into our advisory curriculum. So advisory here at Berlin High School is a program that we've had for many years, but it really has been a placeholder to meet the needs of our students at that given time. Moving into this year, our focus is going to be on social and emotional wellness, and to start the year. And with that, we are going to focus on creating a safe environment for students to have them reflect and connect and have different opportunities to be part of the Berlin High School community. Berlin High School will follow district protocols, as mentioned earlier, with health screenings and stay home policies and containment and shutdown. We will talk about this with students, not only the first couple of days of in-person school here at the high school, but it will continue to be a wellness check and a wellness update for students as our fluid situation continues to evolve. So for now, to understand advisory, I did see a question come in about advisory. What is this program? It holds a lot of different opportunities for us here. And what we are fortunate to have is a time designated in our schedule to meet those needs, whatever those needs might be. So in past and in the future, it would be an opportunity for class meetings, which now might look different. Perhaps they might be live streamed into the classrooms. Assemblies, same thing, might be live streamed into the classrooms for social distancing. And then again, an opportunity for community building and really building that relationship with an adult in a small group setting within the school that they might not necessarily have as an academic teacher in their schedule that year. So the goal is to be consistent with that adult and have that adult be their advisor at least through grades 9, 10, and 11 before transitioning into the capstone program as a senior. So that's a little background on our advisory program. And if you have any questions about our programming or future plans, certainly feel free to send me an email and I would be happy to provide you with more detail.
Thank you, Mrs. Mento. One other thing I do want to mention for our freshmen and sophomores, which I'm really excited about, is last year we instituted a freshman workshop, and we actually are working to expand that. Unfortunately, we're supposed to be running junior workshop and we got a couple weeks in before we went out on COVID. So we're excited to implement all three. So for first quarter, all of our 9th grade students will be involved in freshman workshop, which will meet once in the 6-day rotation. And it really is focusing specifically on that continued transition to high school. What I'm really excited about, because I feel like in all my years as a high school administrator, I always feel like sometimes sophomores get a little lost in the shuffle. And so what I'm really excited about is second quarter, we're actually going to have sophomore workshop, which will really begin to focus on, how are you doing? Are you connected here at school? And really start to think a little bit about some post-secondary planning. Not too over the top, but maybe a little bit about like some career exploration that can really maybe help point the dial a little bit more as they head into junior and senior year. So I'm really, really excited about those programs that we're expanding and implementing. I'm especially excited for our sophomore students for something like that to continue with them. So with that, we already discussed athletics, so I'm going to stop share, and then I think we're going to turn to the questions that maybe have come through during the presentation. So, okay.
So we did have a few questions that have been submitted so far, some of which, Mrs. Eustace, you've already answered. So if anyone has questions at this time that have not been answered, certainly send them to me in email or through the Google form. But let me look to the form right here. So this question again, perhaps we need just some reiteration of this. Will the kids get their books or supplies needed for class before school starts? And if so, will curbside pickup for each cohort group be available?
So again, our goal is we want to try to minimize the number of people that are coming in the building at one time. So we're working with teachers to whatever they're implementing that first week, to make sure that with remote students, everything is up and available online. So teachers will have that planning in mind in terms of doing that. And for our 100% remote students, we're going to set up an assigned day. My hope is that that will be next week. If not, it will certainly be that Monday or Tuesday of the following week to come by and pick up your materials. We just need as I said, we need our teachers in the building to be able to really kind of collect everything that our 100% remote students need, since they won't really have a chance to see them in person. So we want to make sure that we coordinate all of that and get everything together so that we're also not putting undue pressure on families to make multiple trips for things. So I think there were a few questions in there that I did see before the presentation that I did my best to try to incorporate. So
another question that was sort of touched upon, but I can inform this one. So the question is, what is the plan for the staggered entry and exit times for drop off and pickup? So I think Mrs. Eustace did a nice job discussing the entry plan, but as far as the staggered dismissal, that's a plan that we've worked on and talked about in several different ways, but the information provided, and it might change for your student based on the odd or even day within the 6-day rotation, but we've gone back and forth between, should it be part of the school, a zone in the school, should it be by grade level, but until we have a better idea as to what class sizes look like at the end of the day in given spaces of the building. For now, our staggered dismissal will start at 2:05, and your student will know based on whether it's a period 7 or period 8 dismissal, their exact time. I know parents were asking, if I were to do a parent pickup, should I plan to be at school closer to 2:05 or closer to 2:10. So I would say for now, until your student is in the building and has that period 7 and period 8 experience, you will know after the first week of school if they're more of the 205, 206 pickup or more of that 210 pickup.
And one of the things I want to point out is because we're on a 6-day rotation, it's really going to depend. So Monday's never going to be the same type of Monday. Like the first week Monday, or actually we're starting on a Tuesday. So that Tuesday is a day 1, but the following week on Tuesday will be a day 6, if my math is right on that one. So by day of the week, it is a little bit different. It's really only a 5-minute increment. And we're thinking about even like odd classrooms, even classrooms, that way you kind of control the flow even within the hallway, not so much even the doors that they're exiting from. So just to let you know, that's one process we're still, in some discussion about, because we just want to try to make sure that we put the most effective thing in place at this point.
So the next question asks, how can the school plan accordingly for classroom size and cohorts if at any given time families choose to send their students back to school?
So we discussed the fact that you can change your mode of learning if you want. We ask that you reach out to the counselor, as well as we'll want something in writing. I think the important thing is to have a discussion with the school counselor first to talk through it. And then you would want to reach out in writing to the counselor as well as the assigned assistant principal. You will then be notified which day you can make that change. So we do want to try to stay on the weekly rotation as much as possible. So if you're full remote and you decide you want to come hybrid, we also need we need a little bit of time really to go through the schedule and take a look at all the individual classes and see which cohort would be the best one from a numbers standpoint. Again, it's been the cohorting as easy as everybody likes to think it is. It really isn't, because of the complexity of a high school schedule and the way in which our classes run. And we have lots of classes that are multi-grade classes. So it's just something that, again, a little more complicated. So it takes us a little bit more time to figure out where's the best place to put someone if they're changing. Okay.
Okay, we have another question that just came in, and it asks, how many days will children be in school in person?
So that honestly, that is a question I cannot answer. It is going to depend on how long we are in hybrid mode, how long, when we'll be able to switch to full in-person mode, or if unfortunately we would have to go out 100% remote. So I truly do not have an answer to that question.
Okay, at this time, that is all of the questions that came through.
Okay. So I guess, I know it was a lot of information. And again, we tried to provide an opportunity for people to pre-submit questions so that we could make sure that we covered what was on everybody's mind. So I just want to encourage everybody to continue to read the email notifications that are coming out from the district as well as from the school. I'm sure there's definitely plenty more information that's going to be coming out before we start on the 8th. I just want to let you know that I feel really confident and really ready. We have put a lot of safety protocols in. I'm very appreciative of the Board of Ed as well as central office that has really truly been very supportive of meeting the needs within the building, understanding some of the dilemmas. But again, we are really excited to have our students back. It was really wonderful. We had a couple of opportunities this summer. We've had success with our sports that have been running this summer in certain conditioning programs. People have remained healthy and safe. We ran band camp, which was a huge success for a week with over 80 students. Knock on wood, they were outside, they had beautiful weather, but the students were really great and cooperative in terms of following all the safety protocols. And we also had a really successful freshman orientation where we had 2 sessions with students coming in small groups, working with upperclassmen as well as the teachers that were coming in. And it was wonderful to see students back in the building. It was great to see our upperclassmen as they came back. It was really kind of nice to see just how appreciative they were, and just the fact that they felt like it was so nice to be back. They're excited to see their friends as well as their teachers, but I think with a different sense of appreciation. I think they've always been appreciative, but it really takes on a whole new meaning for them, and they really understand about like enjoying the moment. But I also have a greater sense from them about like their willingness to take more risks and do something in a different way, because that's just really the way that we have to kind of think about things. It's hard to, you know, it definitely, nothing's really normal. And, you know, I think that's probably a word we even just have to toss out now and focus on how we can do things differently, but still be able to move forward with all of the really neat and wonderful opportunities that we have here at Berlin High School. So any questions that have come through?
Nope, not since that last one. I think we are all set.
Okay. So thank you everybody for joining us. If you joined late and need some of the information from the beginning, this was recorded. So we are going to post it up on the website. There is a separate one for 11th and 12th graders. So if you happen to be an 11th or 12th grade parent, there was some additional information included regarding SATs as well as college planning and PSATs. So if you want to take a look at the recording from yesterday, that's probably closer to the 3:30 mark or the halfway mark of the presentation for yesterday if you want that information. So again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you soon. Take care.